Hello everyone, I am Ankit and you are watching StudyIQ IAS English channel. In our today's video, we are going to understand Article 352, which is a provision in the Constitution that provides for imposition of national emergency. But why are we discussing national emergency? You'd think national emergency was imposed a long time back. Let me give you the reason. Now, the notes for these sessions, if you want to download them, they will be available on the Telegram channel ATS Live. So you can go to your Telegram app on the top right hand corner. You can enter the words ATS Live and you'll find the channel. If you have some problem, always scan this QR code. This will take you to the channel. Subscribe it if you still haven't and download the notes. Let us start our today's discussion by understanding why are we discussing national emergency in 2025. Because if you remember, the last national emergency that was imposed, it was imposed on June 25th, 1975. Today is also June 25th in 2025. So this marks exactly 50 years last time when the national emergency was imposed. Now this time period in which 21 months long when the national emergency was in application, this was one of the darkest chapter in the history of Indian democracy. It led to suspension of civil liberties, it led to curtailment of press freedom, which is detrimental to democracy, obviously led to mass arrest, including members of the opposition then, and it also led to cancellation of elections and fall of the decree of rule of law, and instead rule of decree was followed, right? So in that regard, we are going to understand emergency. But understanding national emergency from an exams point of view, you need to understand we don't need to understand or ascertain who were put behind the bars during the national emergency period. Rather, what is more important here is how national emergency is imposed. What are the grounds based on which you can impose national emergency? And once you impose national emergency, how it changes the entire structure of Indian federalism. It changes or it alters Indian federalism and makes it a unitary system of governments. Similarly, national emergency also has implications on how fundamental rights are exercised and enforced in the Indian democratic setup. All of this is quite a wide-ranging changes which you need to ascertain before you give your prelims as well as mains examination. So we are going to understand in great detail the constitutional aspects of national emergency which is provided under Article 352. Let us start our today's discussion. First, let us understand what are the grounds on which you can declare national emergency in India, and for that you need to refer to Article 352 of the Constitution. So when you read Article 352, it will tell you that it is the President of India who can declare a national emergency in case security of India or a part of India is threatened, and there are three grounds for imposition of national emergency. That is a war, external aggression, or armed rebellion. Now, in the course of our today's discussion, you will realize that 44th Amendment Act have changed many provisions relating to emergency. It also made changes to the grounds on which the democracy or the national emergency can be imposed. It said the word earlier, it was mentioned as internal disturbance. 44th Amendment Act changed this word internal disturbance and changed it with armed rebellion. This was the reason why, because in 1975, the then Congress government, which was led by Prime Minister Indira Gandhi, they declared emergency based on internal disturbance. But the word internal disturbance itself, it's a vague term which can be interpreted in multiple ways. So therefore, now it is no longer possible for a government to declare emergency on national or internal disturbance. They can only declare it in case of armed rebellion in addition to war and external aggression, right? So this was the imposition of national emergency back in 1975 on grounds of internal disturbance, which created a lot of controversy. Therefore, this was changed by 44th Amendment Act. Similarly, 38th Amendment Act in 1975, it also said that President of India can proclaim national emergency on grounds of war, external aggression, or armed rebellion, and it can be imposed already in case of one imposition has been made. So suppose if government has declared emergency in case of war, it can simultaneously declare emergency on other grounds also because of the power given under Article 352 based on changes made in 38th Amendment Act. Similarly, 42nd Amendment Act, which was passed during the time emergency was in place, it enabled the President of India to limit the imposition of national emergency only to a part of India. Earlier, you could impose national emergency in the entire boundary. Now you can impose it in entire country or even a part of it. And this was the power given to President under 42nd Amendment Act of 1976. Understood? So this is how grounds of declaration has been changed. Further, 44th Amendment Act also made certain changes. It said the President of India can proclaim national emergency only after receiving a written recommendation from the cabinet. Earlier, only the Prime Minister or Prime Minister himself or herself can recommend imposition of national emergency, and this was what exactly happened in 1975 when Madam Indira Gandhi, who was the Prime Minister, she herself recommended to the President that please impose national emergency, and her cabinet was unaware of this decision. They came to know only the next date. So now this is not possible. Why? Because 44th Amendment Act has said President can only declare national emergency in case he receives a written recommendation from whom? From the entire cabinet, not just Prime Minister of India. And also, this is the first time the word cabinet has been mentioned in the Constitution of India. Earlier, the words like Council of Ministers were mentioned, but not cabinet. Cabinet word itself was introduced first time in the Constitution through 44th Amendment Act for exactly this provision, right? Similarly, 38th Amendment Act of 1975, it said that declaration of national emergency was immune from judicial review. However, it was subsequently deleted from 44th Amendment Act. Whereas Supreme Court of India later on in Minerva Mills case judgment has also said that the imposition of national emergency can be challenged in a court of law based on the fact that it might be mala fide or the declaration of national emergency was made on certain evidences which are irrelevant to the certain case or are absurd or perverse. So what you understand? That this can be imposed by President only after recommendation or a written recommendation from cabinet, not just from Prime Minister, and this is subjected to judicial review by the Court of India, right? So these are the restrictions that have been imposed on grounds of imposition. Now let us understand what are the process of getting parliamentary approval, right? Now suppose if you proclaim emergency, you need to get it approved by both houses of the parliament within 1 month from the date of issue of national emergency. And in case Lok Sabha is not functioning at that time, then you have to get it approved within 1 month period from the reconstitution or reassembly of Lok Sabha. Originally, the Constitution of India said that you need to take this approval from the houses of parliament in 2 months. This was reduced to 1 month by 44th Amendment Act. Similarly, if both houses of the parliament approve it once, this national emergency can't continue indefinitely. It can continue for maximum of 6 months and then you'll have to get it reapproved by both houses of the parliament. Earlier, this was to be continued for an indefinite amount of period, but this restriction was also passed or made from 44th Amendment Act, that it said you can at maximum time continue national emergency for 6 months before further requiring the approval from both houses of the parliament, right? Now, what is the process of getting approval from both houses of the parliament? In case if you want to get it approved by parliament, this resolution must be passed by both houses individually based on special majority. What is special majority? Special majority is the kind of majority which requires majority of total membership of the house, that is more than 50% of the total membership, and in addition to that you also have to ensure that this is not less than 2/3 of total members who are present in voting, and both of these conditions have to be satisfied, and this is called a special majority. So to get it approved by parliament, you need special majority of both of the houses individually, and this special majority provision also was introduced by 44th Amendment Act. Earlier the constitution said that you can get it approved by both houses of the parliament just by simple majority. Therefore it was made tougher for the government to get it approved by either houses of the parliament, right? Now let us understand how can this national emergency can be revocated, right? Earlier, only the President of India, by virtue of government's decision, had the power to revoke national emergency. But in addition to that, 44th Amendment Act added an additional safeguard. It said, in addition to President of India making this decision based on government's recommendation, even the Parliament of India, particularly Lok Sabha, can force President of India to revocate the national emergency, and the Lok Sabha can do so in a particular manner. First of all, 1/10 of the total number of members of Lok Sabha, they need to give a written notice to the Speaker or to the President of India, highlighting them that please hold a special sitting of Lok Sabha within 14 days of us giving the notice. And once Lok Sabha is reconstituted, then they will pass a resolution by simple majority to approve for discontinuation of the national emergency. So in two cases, the national emergency can be taken back. First, it can be done by President on the aid and advice of government, and in another case, it can be done by President if Lok Sabha, by a resolution passed by simple majority, forces the President to revocate the national emergency. And this Lok Sabha part was introduced by 44th Amendment Act of 1978. Now let us understand how national emergency has impact on Indian political structure. Here we will divide our discussion in executive manner, in legislative powers, and in financial powers. First, let us understand how it impacts executive powers in the country, right? Now, in normal times, you understand the central government, it can give executive directions to state government only on handful of matters like telecommunication, like railways, etc. Basically, only a handful of matters. But once national emergency is in place, the central government becomes entitled to give executive directions to state government on any matter, right? And here state governments are brought under complete control of the central government, even though the state governments are not suspended. So this is very unlike Article 356, which provides for precedent rule. In case you impose precedent rule, the state government is dissolved. But in national emergency, state government is not suspended. Rather, the central government now has the power to give directions on any issue to the state government. So basically, state government comes under central government during the time of national emergency. Another fact is how it changes the legislative powers exercised in Indian polity. Now, during the normal distribution of powers, you understand the Parliament of India can make laws on matters mentioned in union list or in concurrent list in the 7th schedule, whereas state governments, they can pass any laws based on matters mentioned in state list or concurrent list, right? But during national emergency, the Parliament becomes empowered to make laws even on matters mentioned in the state list. Therefore, what you need to understand in process when national emergency is in place, our federal system of government, it changes to a unitary system of government. I told you, state government also has to follow every direction that has been given by central government during national emergency. Similarly, even the state legislatures, they are not suspended, but they will continue to function. But even the Parliament of India becomes empowered to make any laws on the matters even mentioned in the state list. So the legislative power of state legislature is not suspended, but it will be subjected to overriding power of the Parliament. So suppose if state government, state legislature and Parliament pass a law on same matter, the law passed by Parliament will have an overriding impact on the state legislature laws, right? So this is how it also alters the legislative powers, essentially making our country federal, and it is changed to unitary during the time of national emergency. Now let us understand what happens to the laws passed by Parliament after the national emergency ended. Now the laws which has been passed by Parliament during the time of national emergency, it will become inoperative 6 months after the end of emergency, and this is very unlike Article 356. Now during Article 356, when precedent rule is in place in particular state, in that particular state, the Parliament of India can also pass laws for the state, but those laws which are being passed by Parliament during President's rule will continue to function even after the end of President's rule, but not in the case of national emergency. Here, whatever law is passed by Parliament on matters relating to state list, they will cease to operate from after 6 months after the end of the national emergency. And the proclamation of national emergency is in operation. Even the President of India becomes empowered to pass any ordinance on matters mentioned in the state list, right? So this is how the legislative powers of the state is curbed, and the greater power is given to Parliament of India even on matters mentioned in the state list. Now let us understand how it impacts financial powers, right? Now, during the proclamation of national emergency, the President of India, he or she can modify the constitutional distribution of revenues that happens between central government and state government, which means during national emergency, the President of India can either reduce or even cancel the transfer of finances from central to state government, and such modifications, it continue till the end of financial year in which the emergency ceased to operate. So this is how it also alters the power of finances from the state government's perspective, because central government is given greater power. It can either modify or it even cancel the distribution of funds from union to state governments, right? Now let us understand how it impacts the life of legislatures in India, both Lok Sabha as well as the State Assembly. Now, while the proclamation of national emergency is there, the Lok Sabha tenure, it can be extended beyond its normal term of 5 years through a law passed by Parliament 1 year at a time. What you need to understand, this can be extended infinite times, but it can be extended particularly 1 year at a time. Similarly, the Parliament can also extend the tenure of state legislatures 1 year at a time by a law passed by Parliament. But this extension cannot continue beyond the period of 6 months from the end of national emergency, what you need to understand. So, what we understand here, the life of Lok Sabha and state legislative assemblies can be extended infinite times, at max 1 year at a particular time. You'll have to pass the laws subsequently in 1 year period, right? But this can't continue after the end of 6 months since the date the national emergency ceases to operate, right? Now let us understand the greater aspect of it, how national emergency can impact exercise of fundamental rights in India. Here, there are two separate provisions in the Constitution which deals exclusively with this matter. This is Article 358 and Article 359. Article 358, it deals with suspension of fundamental rights which are guaranteed under Article 19, whereas Article 359 deals with all other fundamental rights except obviously Article 20 and 21. How these two operate? Let us understand them in detail. Now, first let us talk about Article 358. It deals with suspension of fundamental rights provided under Article 19. And when proclamation of national emergency is in place, the 6 fundamental rights mentioned in Article 19, they are automatically suspended, which means you don't need to bring a separate order to suspend them. As soon as you pass the national emergency, Article 19 becomes suspended, and state government, central government, they can make any laws which can take away your fundamental rights mentioned in Article 19, and you don't have the ability to challenge them as per the provisions mentioned under Article 32, because they can't be challenged on the ground because they are inconsistent with your fundamental right. Why? Because national emergency is in place and Article 358 gives the central government this power. So what you understand, you can't or you don't need to bring a separate law. As soon as you implement national emergency, Article 19 becomes suspended. Now, 44th Amendment Act gave certain restrictions even on suspension of Article 19 as mentioned under Article 358. It said that 6 fundamental rights mentioned in Article 19, they can only be suspended on grounds of national emergency which are imposed on cases of war or external aggression. You can't suspend Article 19 in case of emergency based on or declared on the basis of armed rebellion. So this was first restriction. Another restriction is that only those laws which are relating to emergencies are immune from constitutional remedies. Rest all you can go to courts and get them enforced by the courts, right? So here these restrictions were imposed by Article 44th on suspension of Article 19, particularly mentioned under Article 358 of the Constitution. Now let us understand suspension of other fundamental rights which are covered under Article 359. This article gives the right to President of India to suspend right to move to court for enforcement of fundamental rights during the national emergency. So what this article basically says, that your fundamental rights other than Article 19, other than Article 20 and 21 are not suspended. Rather, it is your right to seek constitutional remedy under Article 32 that is suspended. So I told you the difference between Article 358 and 359 is what? In Article 358, your rights under Article 19, they automatically get suspended. Whereas in 359, your rights other than Article 19, 20 or 21, they don't get suspended. Rather, it is your right to seek constitutional remedy under Article 332 that is suspended. There are other restrictions to it also. That is suspension of enforcement. This can only be related to those fundamental rights which is mentioned in the President's order. So I told you Article 358 provides automatic suspension of Article 19 fundamental rights after national emergency. But in case of other fundamental rights, those can be suspended, but you need a separate presidential order for it. Further, this suspension can be for entire duration of national emergency or even for a shorter period as mentioned in the order. So this is more customizable as compared to the suspension of Article 19. Further, the 44th Amendment Act made certain restrictions here also. It says that President cannot suspend right to move to court for fundamental rights that are mentioned in Article 20 and 21. These are right to protection in case of conviction of offences and right to life and personal liberty. These will continue to be enforceable even during the times of national emergency. And only those laws that are relating to emergencies, only these will be protected from being challenged in the court. Rest all, they will be enforceable. So these were the restrictions imposed by 44th Amendment Act. Now what you need to understand that up till now there has been 3 instances where national emergency has been proclaimed. It was proclaimed during 1962 when India went to war with China. And this national emergency which was imposed in 1962, it continued till 1968. So it effectively also covered our war with Pakistan during 1965. And the second time when this national emergency was imposed was during Bangladesh Liberation War in 1971. Now these two national emergencies in 1962 and 1971, they were proclaimed on the grounds of external aggression. So there is no controversy regarding to it. The controversial aspect about national emergency relates to the national emergency which was declared in 1975. Why? Because this was declared on the ground of internal disturbance by then Congress government, which was led by Mrs. Indira Gandhi. And this use of the word internal disturbance created a lot of controversy. And not just that, even the government's power this is provided under emergency was misused grossly by the then government. That is why it became quite controversial. As we have seen in 44th Amendment Act, this word internal disturbance was changed to armed rebellion, right? So that is why 1975 emergency, which completed 50 years today, is a so controversial. In fact, it was so controversial that after then government revoked national emergency and then the next elections were held in 1978, then Congress government lost its power and a new government came in under the leadership of Janata Party. And after coming into power, the Janata Party government appointed Shah Commission, which was to investigate the circumstances under which this 1975 national emergency was imposed. And this commission came to a conclusion that this was not a right thing to do, that is to impose national emergency. Similarly, this Janata Party government also made many changes to the constitution under a 44th Amendment Act, which we have already discussed in the underlying provisions, that it made more difficult for the government to impose national emergency. It made getting approval from the parliament difficult. It added certain safeguards on how you can suspend fundamental rights or how you can get it approved by the parliament. So these were the safeguards that were imposed after government learned the excesses of power that was misused during the 1975 emergency. Understood? I hope you won't have any doubt. In case if you have any doubt, please ask me in the comment section. Now I also have a practice question, but before that I wanted to let you know something. Now national emergency is a part of Article 32. There are other kinds of emergencies also, like President's rule under Article 356, financial emergency under Article 360, and all of these are covered in great detail, just like the one I covered it right now in our foundation lectures. foundation lectures or P2I batches, it covers everything from prelims to mains to interview, and these are called as resolution batches. Right now we are in the process of taking admissions to a morning batch which has already started from 23rd of June, and I've been told that this will continue to be offered at a discounted rate of 25,000, but you'll get this rate only after you apply the code ATS Live. How to apply the code? What are the benefits of these batches? Let me tell you in a very brief manner. You need to go to our website studyIQ.com. Once you go to our website, you'll be needing to create an account here. You can simply enter your mobile number and you can log in using the OTP that will come on your mobile phone, right? Once you're done with the logging in formality, click on all language and select English. Why am I saying select English? Because I understand many of the people who might be watching this video will not be as comfortable in Hindi or in bilingual batches. So for you, we are providing exclusive teaching in English language. Now you have two options. If you want to appear in the exam next year in 2026, the morning batch 2026 is the option for you. And in case if you're looking to give exams later on, you can always opt for a longer duration batches, which is the long-term evening batch. Now the difference between the two of these courses are only of duration. Rest, all of the features remain the same. Now suppose if you want to take admissions in the 2026 batch, click on this tile, buy now. Once you're done by now, it says 31,999 is the course fees, but I'll tell you a way where you can get admissions even on a discounted rate, right? How to get admissions? I'll tell you. Click on buy now. Once you click on buy now, on your right, there is an option to add promo code. Click on it and right here says enter coupon code, write ATS Live, which is the exact same code flashing on the bottom half of your screen. You can apply this code in all the courses of StudyIQ. You'll get the discount. Click apply. As soon as you click apply, you'll see 7,000 rupees discount is applied, and the resolution batch for 2026, it is available at 24,999. The long-term evening batches for a limited time, they will be offered at 30,000 rupees, but you'll get it only after you apply the code ATS Live. It will help you save 7,000 of your or your parents' hard-earned money. Now, what are the benefits? You obviously will get live classes, lecture notes, one-to-one mentorship, but in addition to that, you're also eligible for scholarship. Scholarship essentially means that the course fees you're paying right here, 25,000, in case you clear prelims, your entire course fees will be refunded. Also, if you top your monthly test, you'll be getting 11,000 rupees cash reward, right? So these are the benefits. Similarly, you'll be offered a selection box, which is 20 books, important from your exams perspective, covers all the subjects, PYQs. You'll be provided with that. If you want to get your preparation done in an excellent manner, you are eligible for prelims residential program, particularly those students who are in the top 10% performing of your batches. You'll be brought to Delhi. Your entire expenses, food related, study related, lodging related, will be borne by StudyIQ, and you'll be kept in an environment that promotes competition, that promotes excellence. Similarly, if you clear prelims, you not just get the entire course fees back, but you'll also be eligible for mains residential program, basically same as prelims residential program, but between the period of prelims and mains, right? So all of these benefits are available in our resolution batch. If you still have doubt, please feel free to reach out us on 9240231070, and do not forget to let them know to apply the code ATS Live, because it helps you save 7,000 rupees. Understood? Now let us come back to our today's discussion. This is the practice question that I'd want you to solve. Please do solve this practice question and do let me know the correct answer in the comment section. The ones who answer it correctly, I will give your comments a thumbs up so that you'll know you have answered it correctly. And always, if you want to download the notes, these will be available on the Telegram channel ATS Live. So you can go to this channel, subscribe it if you still haven't, and download the notes. So this is all from my side. I'll see you again tomorrow. Please have a very good night.